Welcome everyone, and let's just start the business strategy class, session number 6, and let's talk about outsourcing. Last session we didn't finish this chapter. We stopped at the outsourcing because it's one of the most important topics that we will cover in this course. I wanted to put extra emphasis on that topic. That's why we kept it for this session. So let's start with the idea of outsourcing. I'm sure you have all heard of outsourcing and what it means in today's business life. There are a lot of companies that are doing it nowadays, and it's basically one of the most essential ways of doing business in today's market, because without outsourcing, it's really impossible to cope with the costs for the products and services that we provide in our corporation. So most of the corporations now are doing outsourcing or are using it in order to be able to provide the customer at the accepted price. So the purchase of a value-creating activity from an external supplier is called outsourcing. Few organizations possess the resources and capabilities required to achieve competitive superiority in all primary and support activities. Remember the value chain and how it works. So along the value chain, there are certain parts that your corporation or organization is not probably able to support or provide the customer. So they will from time to time, they will decide to outsource it or ask some help from some other organization or some other company to come in and help them with that part. So those resources and capabilities, they help that company to that they possess. They help that company to be able to provide what you need in your corporation. So basically, you purchase that value-creating activity from that certain company. To give you an example, let's say like Apple products. You see they're all designed in California and then assembled in China. So what happens is they do the designing part and the research part and the part to come up with a new product, let's say, in California, and then for the assembly, because it's cheaper to do it in China, they do it in China. So that's outsourcing the production line to China. And by forming and emphasizing fewer capabilities, a firm can concentrate on those areas in which and specialty suppliers can perform outsourced capabilities more efficiently. So basically, the idea of outsourcing, the reason that we do outsourcing is when corporations they focus on lesser amount of activities that requires, let's say, resources and capabilities, the corporation would be able to provide a better, more quality service than if they were supposed to do like more or everything to be able to provide that service. So let's say Nokia, they outsource their customer service lines. When you have a problem and you call the customer service, basically that is majorly outsourced by Nokia, and you will be contacting service department, which could be somewhere else from the department, and it could be even in a different country. Like sometimes the customer service of a certain product, when you'll call and they send you to some other country, and the person who actually answering your question is not in the country that you bought the product. So it's really a strategic move to outsource, and when you outsource, you make sure that stuff you outsource are not those core competencies of your product. So if you're really good at something and then you want to outsource it, there's a good chance that you're going to outsource it, do not have that competitive advantage in that regard. So we really want to make sure what you're outsourcing and why you're outsourcing. Okay. And a strategic rationale for outsourcing. Why do we outsource? Just a few more reasons. Improve business focus. When you outsource, you let the company focus on broader business issues by having outside experts handle various operation details. So as I mentioned, when you are outsourcing, you're outsourcing those details that you don't necessarily need to do. And by giving a chance to some other businesses or companies to take care of that, they will be able to provide that service or part of the operation, and that gives you the chance of focusing on broader issues and be able to to be free in order to be innovative or come up with a better or a newer idea to be able to perform. So basically that sort of gives you a leeway, and that helps us to outsource. I got a message from Mr. Nazari. Can everyone hear me? Can you please confirm that you hear my voice? Let me see. Okay, is it better now? Can everybody hear me now? If you can let me know that if you can hear me. Can you please verify that you can hear my voice? Okay, better. Awesome. Okay, so that's for the first part. The second part, provide access to world-class capabilities. So the specialized resources of outsourcing provider makes world-class capabilities available to firms in a wide range of applications. So you need to understand that when we outsource, we sort of outreach and go to other parts of the world. So basically, you are utilizing all the possibilities of getting the product that you need, or be able to provide and create that product in a timely manner, in a sense that you would be able to focus on different aspects of that product creation or value creation. So, and at the same time, you are using and utilizing whatever resources available all around the globe. So because of that, that will be one of the perhaps the major reasons that people do outsource. So you have a broader and wider range. So there was a time that you would only be able to deal or buy certain product or service from a certain retailer or supplier just next door, But now people are buying their products and services from all around the globe. So it's like this idea of globalization and people dealing with each other and doing business all around the globe basically broadens the idea of doing business and gives them a huge amount of possibilities. So then
Outsourcing also accelerates business re-engineering benefits. What we mean by that is achieves engineering benefits more quickly by having outsiders who have already achieved world-class standards take over the process. So sometimes, there are certain benefits or, parts of that operation that call for or require a lot of expertise. So basically, what we mean is outsourcing helps us to utilize that expertise that certain company has. So let's say when we consider computers, different companies they definitely need hardwares, like they need CPUs or different hardwares of the computer, and so they don't necessarily create them themselves, even though they could. But what happens is they outsource or buy them from the companies that are only focusing on producing those hardwares and then using them in their computers. So when you buy an HP or an Apple or Dell or whatever computer, inside that notebook or PC, you will have all those hardwares, and many of those parts are just bought from companies other than HP. So it's not necessarily the CPU or different parts like the cars, different cars are not necessarily produced by HP. They buy it from somebody else. And the reason they do that is because that other company is able to create that product with a much more reasonable price because of their engineering and technological advancement and ability to provide that product at a better price. So what they do, they just buy that and then utilize it in their own company. Then sharing the risk. So it reduces the investment requirements and makes it a firm more flexible, dynamic, and better able to adapt to changing opportunities. So in a sense, when more people are involved in producing a product or service, there are less chances of failure, because there are more people working together all at the same time, and that sort of enables the corporation to do a better job, and it reduces the risk. So if it's only you that is doing the product creation, so then it's only you who would face the risk. But when you do outsource, that will give you the chance of sharing the risk with other supporters or other parts or organizations that have been able to join you, and you together are producing the product. So that is perhaps another reason. I hear this message that you say the quality of voice is not good. I don't know. Here it shows it's quite okay. I don't know why it is the reason. Could be because of the rain somebody mentions. I don't know. Okay. Then outsourcing also frees resources for other purposes. So when you free the resources for some other purposes, some of them are redirects efforts from non-core activities toward those that serve the customer more effectively. Okay, so basically what we do outsource are those activities that are non-core, that are not those that make our company different from other companies. So what we mean by that is that those resources are not those that are creating our competitive advantage. So let's say if your company is so good in research and development, and you are coming with innovative ideas, and that's what brings you the major competitive advantage. If you decide to outsource that R&D, which is one of the major factors of your particular company, then it's not a good decision because the company that you're outsourcing it to might not have this skillful researchers that you do, and they would not come up with these great ideas. So then doesn't make sense to outsource your R&D to some other company that will take the benefit of it from you as being one of the leaders in innovation. So that's what you need to understand. You need to know what we could outsource and what we should not outsource. So those are very important factors. So let me pause here. Any questions so far? Anybody have any question or comments or something to share? You can raise your hand or just write it down, type it down in the chat box. Okay. So outsourcing issues. What are the issues involved in outsourcing? One of them is greatest value. Outsource only to firms possessing a core competence in terms of performing the primary or supporting the outsourced activities. So that's very important to consider, because when you outsource, you just don't outsource to anybody. Like that common concept of outsourcing to China has been the major reason of companies just reducing their quality, or the amount of effort they put in producing a product. But that's not necessarily the case. And those companies that are leading the market nowadays are not necessarily those that are just sending their products to China so that they can just kill the cost and just be able to make money. What happens is those companies, of course, they still do outsource it to China or some other countries. But what happens is they really try to get the best producer or the best coalition with the other corporations so that they can work together and make that product reality. So just outsourcing to any company would not be a great idea. Oh, I've been receiving this. Message that you cannot hear me. Can you hear me now? Is it any better? If you just give me a confirmation that you can hear me, that would be great. Okay. So one of your friends said that he can hear me. So probably that's because of your connection problem, because I don't think that yeah, most probably it's your connection. Okay. Then we need to evaluate resources and capabilities. So when you outsource, these are those that you should not do. Those are the stuff like in red are those that you should not probably do when you're outsourcing. And so they are: do not outsource activities in which the firm itself can create and capture value. So when you outsource, make sure you don't outsource those activities that helps you create and capture. You remember that value creation discussion that we had? So basically, what we mean is when you outsource, you do not outsource those activities that are the core value creators of your corporation. So you make sure that those stuff that you outsource will not take away the benefits of you creating value and your competitive advantage. So that's very important. Then the second one, environmental threats and ongoing tasks. Do not outsource primary or support activities that are used to neutralize environmental threats or to complete necessary ongoing organizational tasks. So if you have an issue with the environment or with certain part of your primary or support activities, and then you have to come up with an activity where you are, and that sort of helps or boosts up your production, it's really unrealistic to take it away and outsource it to somebody else, because the major reason that you started outsourcing was to sort of compensate or to respond to certain environmental factors. So you need to understand when you outsource, you must lose the stuff that you used to have. So that's also a consideration for you. Then the next step is non-strategic team of resources. Do not outsource capabilities that are crucial to the firm's success, even though the capabilities are not actual sources of competitive advantage. Even when the activity is not directly creating that competitive advantage, you need to reconsider if that certain part or certain process or procedure in the production line, if you outsource it, it would take away your critical success factors. So you always need to size up the benefit you get from outsourcing and what you lose. So if you lose your competitive advantage, or indirectly lose that, you definitely don't want to outsource that part of your organization. Then the firm's knowledge base. So do not outsource activities that stimulate the development of a new capabilities and competencies. So when you outsource your database of knowledge, I mean, it happens a lot that a lot of companies, they do outsource their database. But the thing is, you always got to be careful, because that could be the start or the beginning of that other company to start exactly doing what you do, and then you'll lose your competitive advantage. So whatever you do when outsourcing, you need to keep in mind that whatever you're going to outsource is not going to influence your competitive advantage or all those activities that create value, and it only should help you to focus on the primary activities that you need to do, and gives you some more time and also peace of mind, so you can do research or whatever it takes to be able to produce that certain product. So any questions so far? Okay. So we go to the next slide. So just some cautions and reminders. Whenever you are outsourcing, never take for granted that core competencies will continue to provide a source of competitive advantage. So don't take it for granted. Don't think that it's forever. What you're doing is going to be the source of competitive advantage, because the market is changed, and you know, all those changes, even though you might not like it, will cause some changes to your competitive advantage. So you need to be real careful when you are outsourcing, and you need to know exactly what are the sort of after effects of outsourcing that certain product. So that is something you need to consider. Then all core competencies have the potential to be core rigidities. So whatever you're doing and you're quite successful at it, it could be the best shape. It could be in the best shape, and it could be giving you all those core competencies that you require to be able to provide, let's say, the best product to the customers. But at the same time, it could be also the source of losing it at the same time. So when you have something that is giving you the competitive advantage, losing that or doing it differently can cause you a non-competitive advantage. So it's like very important to understand how you go about it, because you cannot just rely on what you're doing and you think that probably you're good at doing, let's say, your corporation is pretty good at providing the telephone communications for the customers, and you have been market leader, and your competitive advantage could be your technology that you're using, that let's say you have a coalition with some company. So don't think that that will be forever and stable all the time. So sometimes you need to change your approaches to keep that competency. Otherwise, you instead of something good, it will become something bad. So your approach to your competitive advantage is also very important. So core rigidities are former core competencies that now generate in inertia and streetful innovation. So solidness, what you are, like the core values and that you have are, you know, they might die away. They might become expired. So what you need to do is to understand that in the future, those core competencies I hear a message from Mr. Gira, see that you have a problem like me. So I don't know exactly why, but you can always contact admin for some consultation, and they could probably help you in that regard with your technical issues. Sometimes it's just a internet problem, but I don't know. So it seems that most of the students, they have been listening to the class and they are pretty fine. So I don't know if you could figure it out. So then, and then determining what the firm can do through continuous and effective analysis of its internal environment increases the likelihood of long-term competitive success. So then again, being able to continuously analyze your internal environment analysis would help you to keep being successful. So this is the end of the chapter and our discussion about outsourcing. Is there any questions so far about outsourcing? Is everybody clear about outsourcing and what we mean by outsourcing? Okay. Mm. Yeah, we can't open another just WebEx page. It's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Akmal, the meaning of outsourcing, of course, you can always refer back to your, to the recorded files, but outsourcing, okay, to answer the first question, outsourcing is just when you're in the process of the value creation. Sometimes instead of doing everything required to get to the level of the value, to having the value created, sometimes you decide to take or give out that production part to another company or another corporation, and then you do the rest. So that gives you the ability to focus on some parts that are more important for the value creation or your competitive advantage, and those that are less important, you have somebody else or some other company take care of it. So that's what we mean by that. And the second question from Mr. Khan Muhammad. So basically, outsourcing is not necessarily just buying the materials. Sometimes it's even some production part. So let's say, like to have a certain product ready, you need to get some certain steps in the production. But if you just give out one step of the production in line to another corporation, that gives you the chance to focus on other steps that are probably more important, and be able to be more successful in what you do. Any questions so far? Is it clear? Okay. So let's go to the next chapter. Okay. So this chapter talks about business level strategy. So business level strategy is an integrated and coordinated set of commitments and actions the firm uses to gain a competitive advantage by exploiting core competency in a specific product market. So basically, business level strategy is the level of strategy that you have some coordinations and integrations, commitments and actions that your company uses to gain or create that competitive advantage, and you always utilize your core competencies in a specific product market. Okay. So at business level, this chapter probably is something you need to consider or take notice of for your assignment also. This is really helpful for you to understand for your business strategy. It gives you some idea what we basically mean by business level strategy. So please take note on that and keep in mind that this is a very important chapter, especially for your assignment. So when we're talking about business level strategy, you're talking of what good or service to provide. So that's like one of the first key questions that you would ask yourself. What are those goods or services that you provide? So that gives you an idea of business level strategy. Then how to manufacture it, and then how to distribute it. So these are the key questions that every single business in any industry need to be able to answer when they are going to create a product. Because first of all, you need to know what type of good or service you are going to provide. So the answer to that question shows like what industry you are at, what type of business you want to do. So it's like one of the key questions you want to ask the first day. Then how to manufacture it. So okay, when you found the answer, okay, our company is going to create like tablets or certain products. So how are we going to manufacture it? Do we have all the tools required to manufacture it? Should we get that manufacturing part from some other company? What part should be outsourced? What part we should keep? All those questions and the answers to those questions are going to be important. And then how to distribute it, because as we talked, when you create that product, it's as long as before it's not on the shelf of the customer's desks or whatever, and they're not using it. So you are not making any money unless the customer decides to buy that product. You have not made money yet. It's been only a cost. So it's very important to know how you're going to distribute the product or service that you're creating, the value that you're creating. So that is very important. So then we have customers, business level strategic issues. Customers are the foundation of successful business level strategy. Who will be served by this strategy? You need to know, okay, who will benefit? Who will benefit from this strategy that we are having in place? And then who needs, what needs those target customers have that strategy will satisfy? So we need to know that those needs that you are meeting for the customers, what are those? You need to be specific about them, and you need to understand how you're going to answer or respond to those needs, and how you'll be able to provide the best or most qualified or quality product or service to those customers that you're targeting. So that is also very important. And how those needs will be satisfied by the strategy. So, and then you need to understand how your strategy is going to address those needs of the customer. So that is also very important. Okay, I'll see Mr. Nazari has raised his hand. Please go ahead and ask your question. You can talk to us, or you can just write it down. Please, Mr. Nazari. Okay, we can't hear you. I don't know what's the problem. So if you can type it down in the chat box though while we're going through the topics and discussing the matter. So feel free to type it down and we'll take care of it. Okay. So then the next part is the who, what, where. So firms must manage all aspects of their relationship with customers. Who is your customers, what they want, and where you're going to provide them with the customer. All these are important. So you reach the customer, firm success in connection to the customers is very important. The more customers you reach, the more presence you have in the market, and the customer will hear about you, the more successful you will be. So it's very important to know how you're going to reach the customers. Are you using magazines or tabloids or media like television or newspapers, and what kind of them, what day, how many days, all these answers will help you to understand what is the specific reach that you will have to the customers, because end of the day, that certain customer that is out there, and you're going to say, hey, we are giving you this product at this value and with this price, that's the customer that is going to buy the product from you. So you got to make sure you are offering that reach to all those customers. You want to make sure that the customers know about it. So that is very important, and knowing that your market is able to access the information about your product is such a relief. It's very important for your corporation. Then the richness is depth and detail of two-way flow of information between the firm and the customer. So after you have that reach, you need to have richness or responsiveness. Like when they say something to you or they give you some, they interact with you, you need to be able to respond back, and you need to be able to answer their needs, or their requirements. Then affiliation is facilitation of useful interactions with customers. So you need to be able to interact with customers properly. That's also very important. So any questions so far? Is it clear? Okay. So the customer needs. So the customer needs, we have these nice charts that are meaning the customers to serve. We have the consumer market, customers, and industrial markets. So the customers, there's an overlap of customers in an industrial market and customers in consumer markets. These are two different markets, but end of the day, you are reaching the customers. So your customers could be your consumer customers, at the same time they could be your industrial market customers. So all you need to do is just to reach the customers, tell them about your product, and they'll buy it. So they are either from industry or they're just a consumer. So it's important to understand that consumer market and industrial are two different separate markets, and they have different requirements and they have different rules that is involved. So knowing that, and also keeping in mind that at the end of the day you are reaching out to the customers, it's like having the end in mind. It's like knowing where you're going. So that's a very interesting aspect of it. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we clear? Okay. So now we are going to be able to separate or segment the customers. So consumer markets, basically what we have here is we try to subcategorize or be able to separate the consumer markets according to these facts. So one of them is demographic factors, like their age, their income level, their sex, like if they're male or females, or what exactly they are. So all these demographic factors help the company to be able to separate the consumer markets. Then socioeconomic factors like social class, a stage in the family life cycle. So they might be just a child or just a parent. So all these are aspects of the consumer that gives you some idea what exactly they will want how they want it, what are their preferences, and all those kind of things. So knowing that helps you to help. Then geographic factors. Geographic also entails some cultural or regional or national differences. So when let's say your product is traveling from country to country or coast to coast in your own country, it's all about how products or services are first out there, and then when they are out there, you need to understand that in different geographical statuses, you will have different responses, right? A good example is McDonald's. McDonald's, like they have mostly like a standardized menu for their food. But what happens is they provide a certain type of food for different regions. Like in Malaysia, they have a chicken porridge, which is only for Malaysians because they take a lot of rice and everything. So they make sure they cover that cultural requirements of the customers. Or their sauce, they have a chili sauce in Malaysia because people take a lot of the spicy stuff. But that is not the case in the other stores in other places of the world. So as you can see, corporations, they always respond, and they should respond immediately to these factors. Then psychological factors like lifestyle, personality, then consumer patterns, like whether they are heavy, moderate, or light users. So the consumption, how much they consume, like proportionately, and then that gives you some idea how you're going to respond and create those products. Then perceptual factors, you need to be able to segment the benefits and perceptual mapping. So like what the customers think of you, how they think and they respond to your approaches to the market. That is also very important. Okay, any questions so far? Good to go? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the continuation of the previous part or topic, then industrial markets. So first we covered in consumer market. Now we are talking about industrial market. So for industrial markets, you need to know the end use segment. Means by having the code of what is exactly the use for that part of the market that you are helping out. So that is also very important to know that what exactly is going to be provided to whom and how. So this is very important. So by SIC we mean a standard industrial classification, of course. So by standard industrial classification is like you need to be able to classify the product that you're offering. So let's say agricultural production corporations. It's like 0100. It's like in the U.S. government. So every government has its own way of coding their industrial classification. And product segments. Then based on technological differences or production economies. So then you need to know that what segment your product is in. So that takes also into consideration the technological differences or production economies. Then geographical segments defined by boundaries between countries or by regional differences. So that is also important to understand, like what are the boundaries between the countries that you know, are different, or like when you're doing business from one country to another, what are the major factors that you need to consider. Then common buying factor segments, like across product, market, and geographical segments. And then customer size segments is like the size of your customers, like the number of the customers that you're helping out or giving your products to. So that is also important. So market segmentation. Consumers always you know, are in the market, and then you have to be able to segment the market so that you'll be able to help them or serve them better. So you have all these demographic, socioeconomic, geographical. So it's just a pie chart so that you can see what exactly goes on. Like each and every one of them takes a portion of the market segmentation, and altogether they'll be able to segment the market according to all these factors. Okay. Any questions so far? Then, and it's the same for consumer and industrial. Both of them, they have these two as well. Okay. So now we get to the next level, which is the customer needs. What? The what question. Customer needs to satisfy what? Customer needs are related to a product's benefit and features. So what we need to understand is the customers are always looking for benefits and those features that the product has that helps them to satisfy their needs. So what are the benefits they're looking for is basically one of the steps that we need to take to be able to answer the question that what satisfies the customer. Then customer needs are neither right nor wrong, good nor bad. So also the idea that customer needs are, it's not, there's no wrong or right answer. So your customers are not necessarily right or wrong. It's just their need, and according to their need, they want it satisfied, and that's when you come in and provide the best quality product to them. Customer needs represent desires in terms of features and performance capabilities. So their needs basically represent their desires and their needs that that will be satisfied by you or any other company that will provide that. Okay, any questions so far? So my question to you is, can everybody hear me? I don't know what's the issue today that nobody can hear me and everybody's just sending messages that I can hear you or I can't, or okay. Could you please just verify? So as I said, it's most definitely it's your connection problem. What you could do, you could log out and then log back in, or it's just your connection problem. Try to reactivate your voice and see what happens. Okay. So now we get to the part of the how. So then how are we going to satisfy those needs? So determining the core competencies necessary to satisfy the customer needs. So in the process of providing what the customer needs, you need to also understand how you're going to do that. So how you're going to satisfy those customer needs. Firms use core competencies to implement value-creating strategies that satisfy customers' needs. So that's how they do it. And then only firms with capacity to continuously improve, innovate, and upgrade their competence and expect to meet or exceed customer expectations across time. So basically, only those firms that are able to improve their products all the time, be innovative, and then upgrade their products are those who can meet or exceed their customers' expectation. So it's basically very important to understand that what we are talking about is basically if you want to stay where you are with doing what you do, you would not be successful. Success only comes in when you are changing all the time according to changes to the preference or like market or industry change, like consumer or industry change. So according to those changes, you should be also changing and responding accordingly to what is required of you. Okay. So now we are going to talk about types of business level strategy. So business level strategies are intended to create differences between the firm's position relative to those of its rivals. So basically your business level strategy helps you to show how you're different from your other rivals. So that's very important in conducting and running your business because you need to understand that what you are doing is different from other corporations, and then you need to voice it out, and you need to mention that in your business level strategy. Then to position itself, the firm must decide whether it intends to perform activities differently or perform different activities as compared to the rivals. So that's also very important. When you're competing with your rivals, you need to understand whether you just want to do different activities from what they do, and that's what brings you value, or you just want to take another approach to the same activities, and that will be your value creation process. So it's important to understand what your approach is going to be. First, what are those activities that you want to do which other rivals don't? And then second is that what are those activities that firms, some rivals do it in a different way and you're going to do it in a different way? And what are the benefits that you're going to get? So I just pause here for a moment and open for questions. Just write down your questions or your comments or thoughts. I've been talking for the whole session so far. I just need some feedback from you. What do you think? Any comments or examples you want to share? Please go ahead. Okay. Nobody has anything to share? So loyal customers should be very important to. Okay. Doesn't say the customer's requirement is not important. Where are you getting that, Mr. Khan Muhammad, that the customer requirements are not important? Oh, no. Oh, here it says customer needs are neither right or wrong, good or bad. It doesn't say that it's not important. What it means is whatever the customer wants is what the customer wants. It's not right or wrong. That's because as a provider, if you think, okay, it's wrong for customer to want that, that's not the right approach. So what we want to focus on is that if customer wants something, it's like there's a reason behind it, and it's just either you decide to give that or satisfy that need or not. But it's not that you think, okay, customer is wrong to be expecting this from us. So it doesn't work that way. So what it means is that the customers decide to expect whatever they want to be satisfied, and we could decide to do that or not, but there's no wrong or right means for a customer. Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Customer is always right. Okay. I think we covered this, right? Okay. The next slide is achieving lower overall cost than rivals. So types of potential competitive advantage are when you achieve lower overall cost than your rivals do. So you perform activities differently or cheaper. So this will take care of the cost of your product. So if you are able to provide that product or service with a lower price, is when you're able to act accordingly and pay less. Possessing the capability to differentiate the firm's products or service and command a premium price. So when you have a capability and you are able to differentiate the firm's product or service and get a premium price, that is called performing different, you know. So the first part is probably regarding, if we go back to the previous slide, you either do activities differently. So when you do activities differently, the first one will be like when you can charge customers less for the same product that you offer. But for the second part, perform different activities as compared to its rivals. So it's when you're providing them with a prime or like a specific product that is different, and they don't mind paying more. Okay, sure. So, so these are the two tenets of thoughts. And about core competencies and competitive advantage. Let me explain. It's very important. We have discussed that companies, whatever they do, whatever helps them be successful, end of the day, what makes them successful is probably their competitive advantage. So by competitive advantage, we mean the value or the unique value that they offer to the customers that is different, and it's just unique to their company. So, but core competencies are basically one of the steps or one of the requirements to be able to get that competitive advantage. So core competency is like the first step. So first of all, as we said, you have the resources, the materials, or whatever you need to create the product. Then you sort of process them and you create core competencies out of those resources. And then after all, using and mixing and bundling and being able to sort all these core competencies, you get a competitive advantage that's general for your company. So that's how it is, and that's how they are different. Any other questions so far? Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So two targets of competitive scope. So we have broader scope, means the firm competes in many customer segments, or narrower scope, when the firm selects a segment or group of segments in the industry and tailors its strategy to serve them at the exclusion of others. So basically, this is talking about the scope of customers that you are helping out or providing the service to. So either you compete in many customer segments, like in a broader scope, or just a single, very segmented, very small part of the market. So that's the decision you make, and you decide how to respond to the customers and how to help them out. Yes, exactly, niche is a good call. So either it's broad or niche. So niche is one of the types of narrow scope. You can just be not as narrow as niche, or you can be as narrow as niche markets. So, is there any questions so far regarding that? It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just how big it is that you are going to respond to the market. Okay, here is one of the most important charts in business strategy and the competitive advantage. So I want you to pay extra attention to that. So your competitive advantage, and also back to your question about core competencies and competitive advantage. This quadrant shows how companies, they get competitive advantage. So 5 business level strategies. There are 5 business level strategies. There are basically quite clear, but it's really important to understand them. So first is cost leadership. Cost leadership, what we mean by that is when your company decides to be the leader in cost, means you want to provide the cheapest product in the market. So you are a cost leader. You are producing the product with a lesser price to the customers. Then So you are dealing with the cost. As you can see, you could do that in broad market, or you could do that in the narrow market, which is a niche market. So then when you go to uniqueness, means you do some different stuff or different activities. So the first one, the cost, is doing the same thing and with the lesser price. The pink quadrant, like the pink box, is differentiation. So it's when you are doing what you're doing, something is different. It means like your activity or something that you're doing for this bar is really different from other companies that they're doing the same, like in the market. So that difference brings uniqueness to your corporation, and that's how your company kind of responds to their customers' needs. Then, if it's a narrow market, you are focusing on a cost leadership. So you just focus in that certain area that you're producing the product, and you try to provide a cheaper product or service. Or it's focused differentiation. It's like you're focusing on differentiating the product or service that you're providing from other rivals. And then the fifth type is when you mix them all together and you get something new. So in nowadays market, basically companies are not necessarily just cost leadership or differentiation. They are basically a mixture of it. They are trying to, do or have the blessing of all and be able to do some cost leadership and also some differentiation at the same time. So that's what happens in the today's market. So first, I want to open for questions. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any comments? Any questions? Okay, Mr. Diasi, please go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, I have, it's not really a question, but maybe some comments. For example, in the city where we live, in Mazar Sharif, and also other places, we have seen many examples of this business level strategies that we're talking about, like cost and uniqueness. For example, we have these different TV sets, for example, from LG, Sony, and others. So the companies are different, and their brands are different, and also the cost is different in the market. So sometimes they have more or less the same cost, but it's different brands, different features. But sometimes also both are different. For example, one is cheaper, the other is more expensive, but at the same time they're different, and it's very true. But it's sometimes a little bit confusing. I don't know the one that I'm going to talk now about which one we can call it. For example, we have in Mazar City, we have two companies who provide gas. For cooking, for whatever you call it. I mean the gas. They provide gas to the houses. Once we call them and you subscribe, you just become a member, and then we call the company and they bring back the gas in back of the door of the house. It's 2 or 3 companies in Mazar. They have the same service and they have also the same cost, but different people apply to different companies. Neither the cost is different, nor the service is different. I mean, the quality of the gas. In this case, I'm a little bit confused how we can call it, in which category it will fall. Thank you.
Okay, very good point. Thank you for your comment, Mr. Riasi. Very good, and it's a very good point. For example that you mentioned, like the gas, you need to understand why the customers then are applying for different corporations to get the gas from. If the price or the type of service they're getting, so basically the customer would be indifferent in getting whatever whichever company. Maybe it's the convenience or just the one that they hear of. So if they don't hear about others, they just hear about this, they just go for it. But mostly, there is a difference, you know. I mean, it could be even a couple cents. It could be just ignorable, but there are differences. For sure, there's the way they do their business, like maybe the way you order it or the way they deliver it is different. And then the type of people that work in the company, you know. The service is partially the employees. So the employee of that one of them probably could be like different in the matter of being sociable and talk to the customer and really care for them, or their customer service line when customers call could be friendlier. So all these small minor details that you might just ignore at your first look are all these that you're talking about. It could be so ignorable. It could be just less than a cent. It could be 0.01 cent. But even that will count. And in a bigger scale, that would end in a competitive advantage or losing a competitive advantage. So it's not sometimes it's not as obvious, but mostly it's obvious. And those times that it's not obvious, you just need to take a clear or more detailed look about what's going on in that company, and you will be able to find it out. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. And as a matter of fact, it's the main issue here, as you just pointed out. I think that's what's happening, is that which people hear first about which company. I mean, the more they hear about, the first time about something, they just prefer to pick up that one. I mean, for example, in our office, I heard it from one of my colleagues, or a couple of them, that they said about this gas company. So just I picked up this one. It's just like this. Whatever hears first about that company, they will pick up that one. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, partially. I mean, it's not necessarily that will be the end. I mean, you might hear about a company which is not a good one, then you do some research and you hear about another one. But that could be one of the reasons for a customer. So there are so many different reasons for a customer to buy. And basically, all the companies are using all these 5 steps now. And basically, the 5th step is the most common one now. So they just don't focus on the cost or differentiation.
Yes, thank you, absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you.
So now is the time for the task in the class. So what I want you to do is please go ahead and draw this chart for me and write an example of your cost leadership differentiation, focused cost leadership, focused differentiation, or integrated cost leadership differentiation. So all of them. Draw the chart and write an example of one of the examples in your company or organization. I believe that you can do it in whatever organization that you work for, but if you can't find one in yours, then you can be imaginative, or you can use your previous company or some other company, but that's your task. So I just write it down. Please draw the 5 Okay. So just explain it one more time for Ms. Masuda, because she seems to need more explanation on it. So basically, 5 business level strategy is just what competitive advantage boils down to. What we mean is competitive advantage. How can we get competitive advantage? We have been talking about competitive advantage for quite some time, and it's a good time to know how. So this is the quadrant for competitive advantage. So basically, it has 4 types. One is cost leadership. On the left-hand side, you have the scope. So it's either broad or narrow. On the left, vertical, and then on the top, you have the type of competitive advantage. Either it's cost or uniqueness. So when it's cost in a broad target, is you're just focusing on cost. You're trying to reduce your cost and make a difference. When it's broad and it's only the different activity. So the first type is you're doing the same activity that everybody else is doing. The only thing is you do it differently so that it costs less or more. So differentiation is you do something different from others. You do something different, and because of that different activity that you get, that's how you charge. So you're not focusing on a cost, but your uniqueness. Then, in a narrow scope, you have focused cost leadership. It's when you're just focusing on a certain type of cost, doing the same thing with your variables. And then focused differentiation is you are only focusing on one unique aspect of a certain part of your product to be different, you know. And then finally, the 5th step is like when you mix them all and you get a balanced version of all these. You are not necessarily just cost leadership or differentiation or focused of that. It's just a cost leadership is you are the leader in the cost. Let's say Walmart is a retailer. They are a cost leader. What it means is that their cost would be a benchmark for all those retailers that are competing against them. So it means that they are able to bring down their cost as much as they want. So whatever they say is the benchmark for other corporations. So if you want to be a retailer and compete, you know that what cost is the standard cost. So that's how you would say, okay, Walmart is a cost leader because they are able to produce their products or materials at the lowest cost possible. So they are a cost leader, and all other retailers will look to them. Is it better? It's not pseudo. This is clear now. Okay, very good. So please, you're welcome. So please work on the task. I would appreciate if one of you would just give me an example so your classmates will have an idea of about the task and how it works, and that will be all. So I give you a couple moments to work on it, and I would welcome you and encourage you to share it with your classmates. Okay, so anybody wants to share his or her example? Yes, Mr. Riyasi, please go ahead. Mr. Riyasi, please go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I hope what I've done is convincing. But I've just put some thoughts on the broad target and also the narrow target. I've quickly done the chart and I'll send it to you by email, but right now, just to talk about it, under the, because we have two types of, or actually, on the broad target and narrow target, we have 4 categories, or if we also count the integrated one, it will be 5. Some companies are leading in the market either by cost, some others are leading by not by cost but a different quality or a different appearance or different looking of their product in the market. And some other companies choose just very small or narrow target area in the market, but they lead the cost, and the same goes for their differentiation. But there are other products or other companies which they want to lead in all of it at the same time. For example, both they consider both leadership in cost and also leadership in the differentiation of their products or services. I've given some example. I'm not 100% sure that my example is correct, but this is just to the best of my understanding. Under the cost leadership, for example, I picked up the iPhones. iPhones as compared to other mobile phones. If we think deeply about it, most of the a little bit middle class mobiles, they provide the same type of service as the iPhones do, but iPhones are usually more expensive than the rest type of mobiles. So I picked up iPhone for this example.
Okay, for your first example, Mr. Diasi, I should say that it's not correct, because cost leadership is when you are focusing on the lowest price possible. So you are providing the lowest price. So iPhone would be a good example for differentiation, not for cost leadership. So
yes. I picked up a high cost, the cheap cost, I should say.
Yeah, because by cost leadership we mean those who are able to provide the lowest cost possible. So some of those
Chinese mobiles.
Yeah, some of the Chinese mobiles, no brand mobiles that are just focusing on providing the cheapest mobile. You can buy a cell phone by $10 or $20. So those are cost leadership mobiles. But iPhone would be a differentiation, and yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, I'll correct this part. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Under the differentiation, I picked up Facebook versus Twitter. They provide not goods exactly, but services. For example, they both have the same kind of, more or less the same services, and when you log in, it's a social network basically. You can communicate with your friends, your relatives across the world, and so basically this is the idea of both networks. However, I mean, in terms of cost, it's the same to the users. There is no cost to the users actually, but because of the different appearance that they have, because of the different features that they use, some people are using Facebook and some others use Twitter. So this is the differentiation and the provision of how it looks like or how it functions basically. Which one is easier to the user? They will pick up that one. For the focused cost leadership, it's a little bit difficult to find examples for the focus cost leadership and focus differentiation, but I tried picked up some from the pharmacies and the medical drugs, the companies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there are two companies which are a little bit more selective for the medical doctors here in Mazar City, which is Gates and Merck.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask the doctors, they are satisfied with both. They say that they are both effective as compared to the rest.
Mm-hmm.
However, Gates Merck is cheaper than the Gates.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit, slightly cheaper. The products are slightly cheaper, so that's why mostly they prescribe because majority of the patients are from the poor layer of the society. So mostly they prescribe Merck medical drugs to the patients because they can afford to buy it better than the Gates.
Okay.
And the focus differentiation. There are two types of Turkish gas heaters now available in the winter in Mazar. One is called gas heater, and the other one is quartz heater, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Quartz. Both are gas heaters. They both, do the same kind of. They are just they use gas to heat the room. But and their cost is also the same, like just $1 or $2 of difference in the market. But only because of the one difference that they have in the ignition port of the heater. I hope you understand what I mean. The port which you ignite the switch, ignite the heater.
Mm-hmm.
One is better than the other. I got is better than the quartz one.
Mm-hmm.
And also the quartz one is that there is an automatic sensor kind of thing attached to the heater. When the room temperature reaches certain level, or there is, also I think depends on the ventilation of the room, it will switch off automatically. While the iGas one does not have this function, but their costs are more or less the same, only $1 difference.
I see.
But customers pick up these only because of the difference in the ignition port and also because of the automatic switch. Because some people do not like this automatic switch, but some people like to use this automatic switch. So this is a focus differentiation in the heater.
Okay.
And regarding the last one, which is integrated, I think there are many examples of this. As I said before, like laptops. We can find different kind of laptops in the market. They're from different companies. They have different functions and features and facilities attached to them. Both their cost is different. One is cheaper than the other, and also their services or their uniqueness are different from the other. But only the customers, they just, according to their desire, they go to the market and pick one, and they don't take the other one. So laptop is a good example, I think, in this case.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Riyasi.
Thank you.
Very good. What I would say, there's a clarification I want to make. For focused or narrow target, which is focused cost leadership and focused differentiation, is mostly when you are just focusing on a targeted group which is much smaller. So for your heater example, I'm not sure if it's in those cases it's just a narrowed example. It's like if it's just they're focusing a certain group of people, because it could be their mass product and it's just a difference between their. While focused differentiation is that company focuses on just being different for only a smart scope, for a small target market. So basically for those two is where we have talking about only a niche market. So differentiation, a good example would be Vertu Mobiles, which is just one handmade cell phone made by Nokia under another brand. So they're just too different from other cell phones. So one cell phone can cost you $75,000. So That's what we mean. And then focused cost leadership is just a small group of the market, and then they're just focusing on being cheaper for that specific segment. And then integrated leadership is where they try to be a little bit of everything. So a lot of insurance companies like ING, like all those banks, they are all trying to do that because they want to give you a little bit of everything. They don't want you to think that they are very high end or low end, or they are just trying to be cost efficient and everything. So basically, most of the companies are moving toward the fifth step. Fifth step is becoming very much more common nowadays, because people don't just want a cheap product nowadays. They want it cheap and also be good quality. So quality is also an important matter. So with differentiation, mostly we talk about a better quality and everything. But with cost, we are just focusing on cost. And with the fifth step is a mixture of everything. Means good quality and lower cost.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wrote it down.
Okay. So for that, I want to end the class. Please, all of you, send me your task by the end of the next day. And I just close the session from here if there's no question. And we will start the marketing class very shortly. Thank you, and you have a nice week.